Gotta gear up for that last call top meta competition. Call 40. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. So I gotta give a shout out here to Kong's Cards. Over the next 7 days, they're going to be running 7 free tournaments on their Discord server through Dueling Book. 100% free. They are giving away a PlayStation 5 to the winner of the grand tournament at the end. Totally a great, fantastic experience. Reason why I call this, last call. Don't have a lot of events left in the year. I'm going to be talking about some of the meta that you're going to be running into for this event. And like I said, I'll leave a link down below so you guys can join and check out this event. I will have coverage for every single event starting next week on this channel. So something for you to gear up and look forward to. So the future is now, old duelist. Let's talk about things you're going to run into for this event. And, well, actually, all of the events. So, obviously, we're going to unpack the Fire Kings here. The big, bright chicken. The 3 structure decks that changes everything. So, full disclaimer, playing on DB, which means everybody is not paywalled behind needing the best deck. You just need a computer that does not lag. So money should not be an issue in terms of Dueling Book unless your computer is an absolute toaster. So in a perfect world, looking at the way that Fire Kings do play, pre-Phantom Nightmare, very important to note that, because that additional Snake Eyes support makes Ashen a lot more broken. So if you're planning to play in this event, you're going to have to deal with mid-range good old Fire Kings, which is going to be the little Ponix returning back to the hand every single standby phase. I will say that the way that the Fire King deck plays, it is actually incredibly grindy. It is actually going to be quite interesting to see how players are going to attempt to play that deck in the TCG within the current ban list. And I think that's the most interesting thing that we bring up here was within the current ban list, because when the OCG had Fire Kings, they didn't really have to deal with a lot of tier elements. I think that tier is kind of that deck that kind of looks to challenge a little bit more of that deck. Now, don't get me wrong, full disclaimer here. I do think that, Fire Kings and tier kind of going head and head. It's just free. Everybody triggers a card effect. Thanks for destroying my Fire King monster via card effect. Thank you for destroying my tier monster by detonating my field. Also, Fire Kings. Fire Kings really want to be milled out. So one of the, I guess it's a kind of a very interesting scenario, is the Fire King versus tier match actually being something that you will have to initially deal with if you're playing into this event. But a lot more pressure on the Fire King deck, a lot more people having to try to figure out ways to kind of counter the meta. It's amazing what 3 structure decks does when you can just pretty much create a deck for a online tournament and you just slam things on out here and you are effectively good to go. So yeah, please don't be scared of Fire Kings, but do be fully aware that that deck is going to be a huge unknown challenger for the duelists that do take their time to kind of figure out the play lines and the best optimization for it. Now, we have our good friends over at Centurion. Now, Centurion, you've got to remember that the deck is what we're going to call incredibly linear. The deck is so boring. Now, honestly, the thing that makes Centurion the interesting challenger in the room is the fact that it is so linear. I would say that I'd almost compare the deck to the way that Sword Soul tries to play. And especially, we're still in a very early phase here where players are trying to figure out, what is the best way to go about Centurion. Well, once again, I've mentioned it's typically the Horus package, and that's going to be one of the big things, especially going into this tournament here, is, if the Centurion player does end up seeing, the King Calamity combo, there are plenty of things in the meta to try to stop it, all right? Like, obviously, the biggest one in the room typically is going to be Super Poly is extremely good, Infinite Impermanence. Anything, also, being able to use your first effect during the main phase to try to detour anything that the opponent might be trying to set up as a extremely troublesome effect. All right, so, you gotta love maintaining what we like to call that priority on entry into main phase, which means that, obviously the card effects and stuff can chain, sure, but the big thing is, whatever your first action is, you can typically try to handle whatever the outs might be. I've seen a lot of lightning storms rolling into the main phase ones, and then it obviously chains up everything, but, it is what it is. People will try anything out here to try to overcome, these menaces. So Fire Kings and Centurion are some of the big wild cards going into this event, because exploration time and really that. Now, a lot of the rest of you got to remember, a lot of the rest of the meta is going to be sitting here at this event. There are going to be a lot of people bringing highly competitive decks to an event like this, because they do want the chance to walk away with the grand prizing. Playing for a free PlayStation 5 means that people are going to try the most degenerate, sweaty, competitive strategies that they can bring their hand on, which means a lot of Rescue Ace and a lot of the rest of the meta, a lot of tier elements. But we cannot forget that if you've paid a lot of attention to a lot of the breakdowns, there have been a lot of players that have specialized in a lot of very powerful things. Braum Poke is a very good example of a duelist that constantly plays here and tries to evolve the strategy. And this is what I like about tournament series like this, is typically within a format you can see players kind of focusing on their affinities. And I can tell you that there have been a couple of very good players in these events that have brought the most random things. We've seen, remember the pendulum list? Everybody was like, no, the pendulum players cheating. No, they weren't. All right, making the DDD Link monster a pendulum monster has already hit the field, which means you can explore the infinite world of pendulum evolution. All right, that challenges a lot of the already established norms that we've seen. We also saw the Teller Knight player out here doing its thing as well. So you've got all of these huge metagame rogue challengers that people are just going to look at, and they're going to be like, what is going on here? And I will say that, like, rogue is definitely a scary thing. All right, especially also another tournament where we haven't talked about this a lot yet, but there may or may not have been a synchro deck that showed up out of Kong's getting third place. And I know a lot of people tend not to really consider a lot of the utilization of some of this stuff. But, if you're hand ripping your opponent away on Infinite Trishulas, Omegas, and things like that, it might be considered crazy out here. But the random affinity for all the tech choices and things that you see out of these events, it's very, very interesting. So remember that. You are going to be playing some of the absolutely craziest deck builders I have seen in this game. Man, wow, Robbie, you're just hyping this event up. It's probably going to be boring. Maybe. Or it's going to be one of the craziest things we've ever seen. Just kidding. So that is my meta-analysis for the little crazy things. Obviously, a lot of your interactions and things are going to come down to, how your deck chooses to play and how, the meta favors you. Good luck, duelist, if you choose to take up the gauntlet for this event. And I really do hope that you have a good time playing this event, or, challenging the meta in the next couple weeks. Yay, Fire Kings! patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.